dancers! So for this week's extra credit opportunity, I wanted to give you the enriching experience of learning about the history of ballet in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoy learning about these fun facts, and I hope that you also enjoy the fun activity that I've included. So just to jump right into it, dance. All right, it's to nobody's surprise that it has been around for what seems like forever, just like music. It goes all the way back to the prehistoric times. So the earliest organized dances, they took place in ancient Greek dramas. You can also see evidence of it in Italy, in their theatrical productions, which incorporated organized dance and miming. You could imagine gestures and emotions presented on stage. But the actual art form wasn't born until the high Renaissance time, 1500s, in Italy, born out of court dancing. So that might surprise you because all the terminology and vocabulary we've been learning is all in French, but it actually started in Italy. It was more of a social activity, as you can imagine, ballroom dancing, and less of a performance kind of emphasis. It was reserved mostly for the high court, the nobles, the aristocrats, and it wasn't until the 1600s when Catherine de Medici, who was Italian and the wife of Henry II, brought ballet to France. So that is when it more so went from a social participation activity to a professional performance elements. In the 1700s, it was King Louis who was responsible for the refinement of the art of ballet, which is what we know it as today. So King Louis, he had a nickname. It was the sun god, because his costumes were always ornate, and because it was still, ballet was more so reserved for the aristocrats and the nobles. There was almost like divine, I don't know, just emphasis on King Louis, and just the male prominence of being the ballet dancer. But, which is also a fun fact, that ballet was predominantly done by males in the beginning. It wasn't until much later that the women came on the scenes. So what else here? So yeah, the Paris Opera Ballet, that's what we know it as today, was actually established by King Louis the 14th. King Louis the 14th. I'm not sure if I said that before. So it was in the 18th century when the women came back and kind of claimed ballet as their own, due to a guy named Charles Didelot. Charles Didelot was the creator, the founder, the originator of the point shoe. He was a male, and that's kind of a joke amongst dancers because they're like, oh, it was a guy that created point shoes and put all the women through so much pain. But anyways, the point shoes aren't really that painful. You get used to it. But with all that being said, it was a combination of it being the Romantic era and ballet, whimsical ballets about fairies and just princesses and just very ethereal things that were trending during that time, and the combination of the point shoe, having the women dance in these shoes, giving the illusion of them floating, that just really took off, and is what made the woman ballerina so iconic. So Marie Taglioni was the one who became the most well known for popularizing the point shoe. She was also, during that time period, was also when the the ballet costumes for the women got shorter and just less in general, just to show off the lines of the legs and all the footwork that the women were doing in their pointe shoes. So then let's move on. So ballet made its appearance in Italy, and then it moved on to France, where King Louis XIV established all of the ballet positions and terms, and then ballet shifted from Paris, France, to St. Petersburg, Russia. This was a time period when, in the 1850s, when the artistry of music became more of a value and became a more integral part in the shaping of ballet and influencing the choreography. So we have two names, the choreographer Marcus Petipa and the composer Peter Tchaikovsky, which you may be familiar with. These were some of the earliest choreographer and composer that worked together, and some of the works they created were the first and most notable pieces ever created, like Swan Lake or Nutcracker or Sleeping Beauty goes back to these Russians. Russia is also known for the Imperial Russian Ballet School, that's known for training some of the world's greatest dancers. And in the 1900s, getting a bit younger here, there were a handful of Russian dancers that were just craving adventure, creating artistic freedom, and they ended up establishing touring companies that became a thing. One of the most famous ones is called Ballet Russes, and one of the most famous ballerinas during that time her name is Anna Pavlova. All right, so they're traveling and touring all around the world, and you can imagine how this would just cause ballet to spread like a wildfire, and thus it coming to America. So a lot of these Russian dancers ended up finding a new home in the United States, and George Balanchine, which is one of the most famous Russians coming to America, and my most favorite choreographer, fun fact, he is kind of known as the father of ballet in America. He is responsible for establishing what we know of today as the New York City Ballet. And then from that, today now you can find companies in almost every single state. And dance is popular all around the world. Of course, over the years, the standard and the athletic ability and just the bar is always rising in terms of what people and dancers can accomplish. So that's evolved over the years, and it's also commonly known that males have just as much as an impact and carry just as much of the role in doing ballet as women now, which is a really awesome thing and just makes it all the more just dynamic and wonderful. So that is the history of ballet in a nutshell. I hope it was interesting, and I'm going to be sure to provide you with some pictures of some of these characters and just some of the names. And I encourage you to do more research on your own if you're so interested, to check out some of these names and what they're responsible for. Look up some of their famous works or look up some of these composers. Yeah, all right, well, I will leave it there with that, and see you in class.